It looks like we're live.
Very
Awesome. Well, Katie, it's nice to be talking with you today. I'm excited to talk about. So, the reason why this chat is happening right now is I was watching your video with Amanda, and I was so curious when you were talking about the photo that you took from the airplane. And as you guys were talking, I was just like, I'm so curious to know what the astrology chart says about this because that's just how my brain works. And yeah, so I'm curious to hear from you, Katie. Like, how has it been kind of following that video? In the replay, I'll put that video that I'm referencing also so other people can go watch it if they haven't seen it yet. But I'm curious to hear, like, since then, like, I would imagine it was pretty kind of hectic in the moment, but I'm curious aftermath and, like, just anything that you wanna share about it.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me. I am been starting to dabble in astrology the last couple of years, and so am too always interested in learning like how the everything's aligning when something like this happens. So I appreciate you reaching out and offering to do this. For those of you who, for context, last Thursday I was taking off from Washington D.C.'s Ronald Reagan Airport or National Airport. And if any of you have ever flown in or out of DC, sometimes the flight path you take, you will get to overlook the National Mall. So you get to see the Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, and you actually get to see the White House. And I was down in my phone and I always try to look out that window because it's such a special view when you do get to see it. And the East Wing had just been finished getting totally demolished. And I really wasn't all of a sudden I was just like taking a picture, which is sort of my second instinct or my first instinct to do. And took this picture and sent it to a group chat and posted on social media, and it went viral. Blue Sky went viral first, then I would say Twitter, then Facebook, then Instagram and Threads. And then I also started getting outreach from different reporters who follow me, news outlets that follow me on Twitter or other places, wanting to use the photo. So I was navigating all of that while in the air because I flew from DC to Detroit, then Detroit to Phoenix. And while I was on the flight from Detroit to Phoenix, I was seeing it on CNN and MSNBC on the back of the screen on the back of the chair. And I'm sure my seatmate was like, "Why is she taking a picture of the TV on the back of the chair?" But it was both hectic but not because it wasn't the worst part was actually more that the Wi-Fi wasn't good enough for the full picture to go through as an attachment because the reporters wanted that for and editors for the metadata to confirm that I had actually taken the picture, that it wasn't AI or anything else. And so I had at least had the foresight in Detroit when I was on the ground to upload it to Dropbox. So I had a link to all of it. But so that part that was kind of like a 12-hour kind of ordeal. Then I wrote a piece about it the next morning of sort of my experience and did that live you mentioned with Amanda to share a little bit more about the experience. And so since then, I've been getting a lot of questions from like friends and other people that when I'm talking to them at a happy hour or a coffee or any conversation I've done this week has all started with tell me more about the photo. So it's been fun to kind of share that experience with people and just have that. It's always fun to go viral for a good reason. I mean, I'm not happy about the East Wing being demolished, but going viral not for something that I said poorly or did something bad, but more of just right place, right time.
Yeah, and I love that you said that too, like, just right place, right time. It really feels like and I know you were talking in the video with Amanda too, just about how, like, everything kind of conspired together to get you in that position to be able to take the photo and to just, like, be in the position to even send it anywhere.
Yeah, because it was a last minute upgrade. Normally, I sit in an aisle seat. I got last minute upgrade to 1D, a window seat on Delta. Delta has very good Wi-Fi on their plane. So, and I was connected right now. Delta, you can connect to the Wi-Fi as soon as the plane door closes. So I was already connected to the Wi-Fi to send it out quickly, too. And that morning they had just finished the last of the demolition. So again, to the point of like, there were a lot of things that had to be put into place for this particular photo to take off. Because I was not the only person with a window seat that day on that flight plan that could have taken that picture and posted it on social media.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too. It's like it wasn't just anyone on the plane, like it was you.
Yeah, there was 30 other rows of people that had that window seat view that could have taken that picture just on that plane, let alone all the other ones. And it's DC. There's tons of reporters, tons of people that are very media savvy that, again, could have easily taken that picture and had it go viral. I would say the other thing that I think also makes this special, because a lot of people are like, why didn't the news orgs just send up a helicopter or something to get that photo? The airspace around the White House is closed. And earlier this year, there was a tragic accident where a military helicopter crashed into a flight with that had like a lot of gymnasts and stuff in it and crashed in the Potomac River. And so they have shut down a lot of those helicopter flight plans in that area after that crash. And so there was actually no way other than being on a plane out of DCA in order to get that shot. No, you couldn't do drones, you couldn't do anything else for anybody else to kind of get that shot in another way.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah, the whole thing's wild when you talk about it. And then what's even crazier is in Phoenix, I was there to just speak at an event. And who happens to sit next to me, who's also a speaker, but the chief of staff for one of the former first ladies. And I talk about it in my speech and I sit down and she grabs my arm and she's like, "You took that photo?" And I was like, and she's like, and then we started chatting and I was like, the universe, like, this is a lot of things that you're throwing at me all at once.
Yeah, I think it's really cool too, like looking at your chart, and I'd love to get into your chart too. I
Sure.
have it here in front of me. And just to touch on a little bit of what you were saying too, and just like how everything kind of worked together, that's what really got me thinking, like, okay, why was it you? Like, what was going on in your chart? And I think like this is a really good example, kind of like you and Amanda were speaking about, just like the power of moving with your intuition and like having that instinct to move with like what's going on around you. And I think from the astrology standpoint, it's like this is what happens when you're living your chart and you're moving in alignment with your own energies and also what's going on in the sky at any given moment. So there was a reason why like it was you and there were things happening in your chart that kind of like spoke to me when I was looking at your chart just about how like everything worked together. And I think that's one of the fascinating things about astrology for me is that like when things like this happen, it's like, okay, I want to get in the chart and see what's going on and just because I think like there is a bit of a misconception about astrology too, where it's like woo woo magic and then in reality, it's mostly just noticing and collecting those different data points along like throughout history. And I think we've just come to make this language out of it that kind of makes meaning out of some of these situations, even like the most mundane things to like the biggest things that happen to you in your life. So I think it's really cool to kind of think about it in this way and put some context to the situation.
Yeah, and I think I've been learning over the last couple of years because I used to be one of those that was skeptical and kind of like I'd read my sun sign horoscope, but wouldn't I didn't know anything about a rising sign or your moon sign or all the other aspects that somebody would look at. But I've found it to be so helpful in the last couple of years of learning how to just move with the overall energy. There's your own energy, but then there's just the energy that's out there in the collective that's also I found really helpful to just know and kind of being like, oh, this is probably going on. So like maybe I don't take it as personally as I should of like what is happening, or I know that I should work with this in this way, in that I've just found to be so incredibly helpful for me just regulating my own emotional and nervous system in all honesty. But then also in terms of kind of thinking about planning and that part about trusting your intuition, trusting that you don't necessarily know how it's going to all play out, but I continue to continue to have moments. They don't all go viral, but moments where you follow your intuition and you're like, "Oh, that worked out." And then that gives you more confidence in terms of following it further and manifesting things and having that trust that things are going to work out even if you can't see the end line of how exactly that's going to unfold.
Exactly. It's like you're building that trust muscle with the universe or like whatever is happening out there. And yeah, you're just kind of like noticing and connecting with stuff outside of you and like really just being able to build that trust muscle.
Yeah, and for me, it's a data point, right? Like it's a data point amongst many other things. And I've also found it really helpful when you look at the cycles of history as well as the cycles of astrology and how they align. You can't ignore it. Like it is mind blowing. And I have also found that to be really helpful when I think about long term planning, when I think about the next 5 to 7 years of where we're going to be going as here in the United States, but also as in the world of kind of, it's like, okay, I know it's gonna be really hard for a while, or I know like yesterday I did a reading with a woman named Desiree Everson for my solar return. And it's like, okay, I can see where these tensions are gonna play out. And again, knowing those helps me then to be like, okay, what do I need to do to ground myself or regulate myself as I go into those situations versus the girl lizard part of my brain would be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you feeling that way? Like, do the safe thing, right? Like, do the thing everybody else wants you to do. Like that stuff that happens too.
Exactly. And I think even, like, in the work that you do, I don't know much about you, like, I've just learned about you, but it seems like the work that you do, the cycles of history are very in alignment with, like, the work that you're doing also, and I think even, like, as you were speaking, I was thinking of, like, the US Pluto return and just, like, everything that comes from that too, and just, like, the bigger transits that are happening on a global stage. I think it's really fascinating to look at that stuff. And then, like you said too, it's just like something to ground us and like help us to regulate throughout the years in our own personal lives too. So there's like so many different ways to be able to
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I'm so excited. I was very excited when you commented and you're like, I wonder what's happening. And I was like, here's all my information. Please tell me. So
so excited when you reached out. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Awesome. So, the first thing that kind of popped out what I was thinking is maybe pulling out a couple things in your own natal chart. So, for those listening, the natal chart is the one that we're born with at the time of our birth. So, it's like a snapshot of the sky at the time that we're born, and it doesn't change throughout our lives. There's things that might happen and, like, progressions and transits and all of these things. But in essence, our natal chart never changes. So there's that. And then there's also like the transiting chart, which I'd like to talk about as well. But I think to start, just like looking at the first thing when I looked at your chart, Katie, was like Sun Uranus conjunction and Scorpio. And just this like, when we're talking about something like this happening and just being in the right place at the right time and being able to move quickly and also, like, moving with your intuition. So Scorpio is a very intuitive sign. It's a water sign, and water is very intuitive, and it holds a lot of memory, but when Uranus is next to it, it's like bang, like, things are happening quickly, and it's like things can change at any minute, which I would imagine I'm curious to hear how you feel about this, but, like, for a Scorpio, a fixed water sign, having that Uranian energy as well, it might feel a little bit contradictory, or it might feel a little bit, like, uncomfortable. I'm curious how you've kind of navigated through your life, like, with that energy.
As you were saying that, it reminds me, so I grew up in Wisconsin, but we would always do summer vacations, and we go whitewater rafting. And as you were saying this kinda reminds me of, like, my life has been in very fast-moving environments, campaigns, in tech, and it's a bit like whitewater rapids where you're going around, you're having to navigate around rocks and move very quickly and make those. And so I that's where I thrive. I know I thrive there. Like I have tried to do where I was like, oh, maybe I want a slower job or a slower life. And I am bored immediately. And so I think that when you're the first person to sort of tell me that part about my natal chart, and as you were saying, and I was like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense," because I've always been sort of used to that fast-moving component of it and having to understand not only when to react quickly or even when not to react when stuff is happening quickly.
I like that too. It's like having the wisdom to know when to react and when to maybe take a beat.
Yeah, that's hard earned from making mistakes, but, like, very much try to, like sometimes I think I liked how Brené Brown put it in her recent book where she talked about how when people are playing soccer, sometimes you gotta, like, settle the ball, right? Like, it hits your chest and you gotta settle before you decide the next move, and she was comparing that to leadership, and that sort of reminded me too of, like, things I've learned over time of that when a crisis or something is happening, you can move quickly, but still intentionally. It doesn't have to be just like move, move, move without really thinking through it.
Yeah, and I think you're very well equipped for, like, the intensity that comes with it too, because Scorpio is quite an intense sign, like, there is this capacity that you have, I would imagine, to, like, be the person in a time of crisis that people might go to, like, look for direction, right? Not only with your Scorpio sun and Uranus, like your fast moving, like ability to move fast, but also like your Taurus rising too. I love this sense of like stability that you have also. It's like there's the intensity, there's the fast movement, like you're able to move in crisis, you're able to hold the capacity of the crisis too, and also like in a grounded, stable, secure way.
Yeah, when I found out about the whole concept of rising signs and that I was a Taurus, I was like, "Oh, that explains so much." And then also with my moon in Capricorn and where that is, I was like, "Oh, I mean, this is the whole thing about astrology, right? Is like you read it and you're like, "Oh my god, this explains so much about me." And so yeah, that and it's I like having that balance, right? Between those 2 because it's been hard to figure out how to harness it over the years, but I've learned how to do that in a way that I think is, unique to me and is the type of leader that I would hope to be.
Yeah. And that's something too. It's like with Uranus and anyone who has Uranus close to one of the personal planets like Katie does, it can, if it's not harnessed or like it's easy to turn into anxiety or like feelings of maybe like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do. There's a lot of electric energy. Uranus is this planet that holds a lot of electricity. So it can feel a little bit like like, looking at your Earth placements too, like you said, your moon in Capricorn and where it is in the chart, and then your Taurus rising, it's like those are the parts that can kind of bring in that grounding energy. Is that something that you, um, have had to, like, kind of learn over time to ground down, or has it always been kind of
Oh,
inherent?
no, I've had to learn, and I'm still learning. In fact, I had, a woman I work with, a coach, and she was like, "You need to for your intuition." She's like, "You need," oftentimes we'll think of intuition, we'll look up, we'll look to the sky and stuff like that. And she was like, "You need to ground. You need to get on the earth, and it's more of a settling type of intuition and grounding." And those were things that I've never until the last couple of years even thought about or been in tune with of trying to figure out what are the best methods for me in which to do that. But also, I also really get calmed around water, around whether it's a lake or an ocean. And so having that mix again of the earth and the water is really important to me.
I love that. And thinking of, like, intuition and just, like, tying it back to this moment where you were able to move quickly, like, there was this quickness about, like, the instinctual part of you.
I don't even remember taking the picture. I have to be honest. Like, I think I blacked. I've tried to remember the moment. I remember being like, I should look up the window, and then I remember looking down at my phone, and I have pictures. Like, I don't remember because you're moving fast. Like, this is a fast moving plane. It's not like you have a ton of time in which to get this shot. Like, it's like 10, 15 seconds, if even that. So sadly, that is not, I know it's somewhere in the brain, but like it just all happened. It was so fast that, and it was just, again, I think I got 4 pictures off because it was just a very quick, let's snap and see what we can get. And it was funny because some editors were like, did you happen to get video? And I was like, I got what I could because I wish I had, but I wish I had had the foresight to do that, but I didn't.
Yeah, and turn the plane around.
Here we go again.
And then speaking of, like, the intuitive hit too, another thing that I noticed in your chart was your Mars and Neptune. So you have, like, these 2 heavy hitters and, like, signatures of intuition, in my opinion. It's like Neptune is very intuitive, Uranus is very intuitive in, like, different ways. Uranus is more electric and quick, and Neptune is more, like, ethereal, I would say. So there is this quality to your instinct too, and I know this was something that you said, is just, like, you had this instinct, and like you're saying too, you just blacked out. It was like, I was just doing the thing that my body was saying, "Do."
Yeah, and framing it and zooming it, and I mean, the other thing too, I had just gotten the new iPhone that has the better zoom and camera quality as well, so I keep thinking of all these things that were, again, converging to make this all happen.
Yeah, and I wanna take a look at, the transits too, because I thought it was really interesting when I looked at the transits of the time that you took the picture and how it was laid out. So, on that day, the Moon, Mercury, and Mars were all together in the sky for everyone, so in the transiting sky the day that you took that photo, but the special part about, like, how it was interacting with your chart was that it was right on top of that Sun-Uranus conjunction in your chart. So,
Mm.
the Moon is our emotional body, Mercury is, like, the mind, communication, and also transportation too, so, like, more domestic transportation, and then Mars was there as well, which is this, like, action, um, the action, outward action, and it was all touching this Sun-Uranus conjunction that you have in your chart, um, which I thought was really fascinating.
Yeah,
And then
keep going, sorry.
No, and then I was thinking too, it's like it's all happening in the 7th house. So the 7th house is where your Sun and Uranus sits. And I was thinking about it too, and just like all of the collaborations that I would imagine came out of this, or like relationships, like you were even saying too, after you gave your talk and you sat down, it was like this unexpected connection that came out of it. And I'm sure like a lot of connections kind of came out of this too. And like thinking about the 7th house of collaboration and relationship.
Yeah, I definitely did not have because it ended up being in the print New York Times on Sunday with my byline, and I definitely did not have on my bingo card that I was gonna have a photo credit that for both Associated Press and New York Times, so now the photo keeps popping up in different stories because so many people have access to the Associated Press wire for these types of pictures and stuff like that, for all that. So, yeah, that was definitely an unexpected collaboration, with the media in a way that I've not done before.
Yeah, and to your point too, another thing that stood out to me was the north node in the sky right now is in Pisces. It's at 17 degrees of Pisces, and you're midheaven at 16 degrees of Capricorn with your moon sitting right there too. The midheaven for people watching as well, it's like the zenith of the sky when you were born. So this is like your public image. It's your like you're on the stage up there because people can see you. So it was almost like with the North Node, this kind of destiny point connecting in a favorable way with your midheaven, which is your career point, your reputation, the public stage. It was like in perfect alignment at that moment. And it kind of like opened up this, like, I just got chills even just thinking about it. It's like something that you couldn't have even expected. Like, you weren't thinking about this when you were taking that photo. And then, like, having that North Node midheaven connection, it's like, okay, now you're kind of on the public stage in a way that you just didn't expect.
That's wow. Yeah, that's so it to the point, the saying right moment, right time with having all of that. I mean, because what's I don't know, odd or like normally I probably would have been thinking about, oh, I should take a video, or because there's been many other times where I've taken off where I'm like, oh, I want to get B-roll of this shot and I'll like actually have it all ready. And again, this one was all those different things. And it's the first time I've experienced something like this where I've then looked at the astrology chart and you see that it's that, oh my God, that moment that opens something that I would have never been able to guess in a bajillion years that like you could have shown me that a week beforehand and been like, oh, the sky looks like something could happen here with collaborations and your public image. And I would have been like, okay, I do a lot of things publicly. I'm going and speaking in Phoenix. Maybe I'm gonna meet somebody there. You're there, right? Like something like that. I would not have guessed this group. And it's better that way. I'm glad it unfolded that way.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point, Katie. It's like we can even look ahead and have this sense of the energy, but we don't know how it's going to play out. Like, we can't plan for it. We can't like I think as humans sometimes too, I don't know if you can relate, but for me, it's like, okay, I need to control everything and like have everything in place sometimes where it's like, you can't even do that in a moment like this. Like, there's no possible way to do.
No, but what I also think was interesting, so I agree with you. Like, I think as much as I would love to know every single bit, I also know I'm like, how unfun would that be? That wouldn't be that fun to know everything that's going to unfold and how. But it'd certainly be much better for my anxiety. But there was something I don't know if any of you've read, and I mentioned this in my live with Amanda. Garden's book last year. Be ready for when the luck happens. And I think there was something too about the fact that I had relationships already with so many of these news outlets because I've done interviews with them. I've talked to their reporters, that I had a social media following, that I already had a public presence that I had built up on all sorts of places, including here on Substack, that in many ways were somewhat foundational building and required for this photo to also go viral. So it's not just the fact that it was that moment in time and getting lucky in some of those things, but it was all the things that I did before that to be prepared for that particular moment.
Exactly, and I think that's also the importance of the natal chart, and also, like, even if you don't know astrology, if people don't know astrology, just the importance of, like, following your own intuition and, like, building the life that, like, is moving towards your goals, right? And just, like, living in alignment, whether it's through astrology or whether it's just by, like, trial and error or, like, whatever tool that you use. And I think, like, there is something special to be said about that where, like, maybe if you weren't doing that work, this wouldn't have happened in the same way, right? Like, it maybe you would have taken a photo and it wouldn't have gone viral, even though the transits aligned in this way. It's like we kind of have to do that work in, like, co-creation with the outside forces. It's not just like, this will happen on this day. It's, okay, this is the energy that's available, and are you ready for it?
I love the word co-create there because again, like skeptics who, when I talk about, people will be like, "What's going on right now?" And I'm like, "Well, if you want the astrology version of it, like, let me tell you what's happening right now." And for people who are like totally skeptical, and I'm like, and I have to, like, we were talking a little bit about some of the misconceptions about astrology. I like how you use the word co-creation there, because there's a lot of, like, it can present you the opportunities, but again, it's very amorphous, and then it's what you make of it in what you do with that, that is really important. And sometimes the astrology lands for me, sometimes it doesn't, of what is happening. Sometimes I don't realize until in hindsight of being able to look at those things. Um, but I do think that there's that sort of like, okay, what am I gonna do with this now that I know of what's coming up? Even though, again, to what we've been saying, I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like when it actually happens.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it too, like you were saying, I would be bored if I knew everything that was gonna happen, and then also, like, maybe more of that control would come in too, where it's like, "Okay, I know what's gonna happen, and now I'm gonna, like, work really hard to try to make that thing happen." Meanwhile, transits could pass and you're like, "I didn't even feel that." So, like
Well, and I've been finding too that the more that I've been learning to work with energy, my energy, the collective energy, the energy of people I'm closest to, I am becoming more and more in tune with my intuition, the messages, where I want to be going, and it keeps getting louder. And if I like, I'm like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet." It's like, "No, yeah, you are." Like, and it's like, it's just louder. I don't know how otherwise to explain it. And you don't have any choice but to sort of follow it and trust that that is going to happen. And I think that a lot, I know, well, I'll just speak for myself. Like, I was brought up in a way that there was a certain way that your life was supposed to go, and you were supposed to get married and have kids and do X, Y, and Z. And instead, I moved to DC and I'm single and I travel a lot and I work for myself and I do all of these different things that people don't know what box to put me in. And that has been very hard sometimes to because sometimes it'd just be easier to be like, here's my group, here's my tribe, here's my box that I'm in. But that's just not, I also feel uncomfortable there and I'm unhappy there. And so understanding and learning the astrology part of it all has sort of helped me to be like, oh, okay. I mean, at least even if it's just the universe understands me, somebody understands what I'm trying to do, right?
yeah, and that's, like first off, like, I can really relate to that, just the feeling of as I'm paying more attention to the energy, the louder my intuition gets and the less I even look at my chart. It's like, okay, I don't feel called to look at it as much because I'm like, okay, I'm connected. I feel my intuition. Like I can trust my intuition now that I've kind of collected those data points as well. Um, and then also just back to your Uranus Sun conjunction, it's like you can't be put in a box. That signature is in your chart where it's like you're not here to do life the way that everyone in your 3rd grade class does life. It's like you said, it's like I probably wouldn't be happy in that box. There's something bigger for you out there, and I think astrology can really just offer that, like you said, that understanding, even if it's the universe, like, if nobody else understands me, then something understands me, and it, like I don't know how it feels for you, but for me, it's like I can then feel it's almost like permission to understand myself or, like, to accept myself. Um, Not that we need permission to do that, but I think sometimes
No,
it
but
helps.
I needed it. My moon, finding out that not only my moon was in Capricorn, but that my moon is in, it's the 10th house, right? That of career. And because I always felt guilty, may not, guilty may be the right word, but that I get so much fulfillment from my career, that I need to work. It really, I love it. It makes me whole. Like, and people would be like, when I go on vacations, I'd be like, I at least want to check my email. Like, I still want to stay somewhat connected. And other people want to completely disconnect, and that's fine. And I was always like, people call me workaholic and all these things. And then when I learned about the moon, what the moon meant, and that it was like how you're emotionally, satisfied and all of that, and finding out it was in my 10th house of career, I was like, thank you. That's why like I can't change this. And so
Emails.
I
Love that
will
book.
check my emails, everybody. Like, it's written in the stars. This is how it's going to be. Like, but it really was because it's just again, various societal norms have put different pressures on you about all these shoulds of what you should be or should do or when something's supposed to happen for you, right? Like, as I get into electional astrology, I think that's the right word, right? Where like different over time where different things are supposed to happen, I know that my best years in both my career and my love life are ahead of me, actually. And later in life, then I'm turning 45 here on November 12th. So that's opposite of those who get married in their 20s. And that's great. Great for them, right? But there's those types of things that are sort of just really helpful to, again, I don't know how they're going to manifest. It's not predicting the future. It's just telling you a bit about where the energy is going to be. And then that's really helpful for me in planning and also not stressing out if things haven't exactly happened on the timeline that society or whomever I think is telling me I have to do something says I need to do something.
Yeah, I love that. It's just like we all have our own timelines and it's going to unfold as it's going to unfold. We don't have to try to force things into these places because of society's expectations of us. And yeah, we're all different. And just thinking of like, even just thinking of the whole, like we're all unique. And I think that's just so beautiful. And I think like really, like, not everyone is gonna wanna check their emails at all times of the
No,
day, like, but for you, your moon is in the 10th house, like you were saying, not only in the 10th house, but it's in Capricorn too, so it's like there is this moon emotional fulfillment for people watching too. It's like Katie's moon, or everyone's moon, is about, like, how we feel emotionally fulfilled and what brings us a feeling of safety and comfort, and also, like, it can be our habits and, um, a whole bunch of other things that I won't go into, but the moon being in the 10th house in Capricorn, it's like you get that emotional fulfillment from working and, like, being responsible to something. And looking at your chart too, it's interesting, like, all of your planets are kind of in Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. It's all, like, the outside of you. Like, it feels very much like your chart is heavy on everything that's happening on the outside, and, like, you're kind of like, I wonder if you feel a sense of responsibility to, like, the outside world, or, like, you were saying too just about being 45 years old and, like, single and, like, all of these things. It's like that doesn't look like it's just a priority for you, right? At this point in your life, but I think there is, like, you're here for something bigger than just the suburban life at this point.
yeah, it's never. I have puppy fever, but I've never had baby fever. I've never like, I when I was 29, I was so tired of dating here in DC, and I was like, if it happens great. But I was just about to started Facebook, and I was like, I want to focus on my career. Right, this is such a unique opportunity and all of those things. And it's it's been hard because there's times where it's like it'd be nice to have somebody to like be going through it with, but it's also just never felt right. So, which again kind of goes and fits with the chart on everything. And so much of I try to find the right balance between working and helping others and just trying to help people and myself figure out what's going on in this crazy world and how we like continue to move forward and what that looks like, but also doing it in um a friend of mine calls me an edge walker because every job I've had has never existed before I had it, right? And it's like there's things that I'm doing that I don't necessarily have somebody to look to help me to figure out how it is that I'm doing them. But then there's a lot of things that I try to do to help those that are coming after me in the path, to try to figure out like their own path and but also what I learned from doing it myself.
Yeah. That's that like, I hear so much of your Uranus and the sun. It's just, like, very, alive in you. And I am mindful of time too, but I'm curious, like, if anyone has any questions
Oh yeah.
for me, but otherwise, Katie, I'm curious if there's anything else you wanna share before we say goodbye or
No, I appreciate you doing this. Is so interesting, of seeing how this all got pulled together. And this has been such a fun conversation about. I think this is something I feel like we need to be talking more about for people. Of again, astrology and sort of the energy of the universe can be a really helpful data point, as we're all trying to kind of navigate not only ourselves and what helps regulate our nervous systems, but also how we try to navigate. There's a lot of pivots and twists and turns that have happened and are continuing to happen. And when you look at the astrology, you can't it's lining up in a way that you can't ignore. So I'm just thanks for the opportunity to be able to chat about it more.
yeah, and thank you for sitting down with me. This was really fun, and yeah, just, like, learning together, and also I really appreciate, like, the world you're in and also, like, being open to astrology. I think that's really cool, and I think, like, yeah, just the work you do is super important, and I think it's just really so necessary today, like, the craziness of the world and just, like, navigating it, right? Like you said.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's and what's wild is like also so mentioned I did my solar return reading yesterday, and I have a book that I've been working on for 5 plus years, and it finally started coming together this year, and it's coming out next fall. And when Desiree looked at my chart, and I looked at my chart, and it was my Mercury and Mars right next to one another in the ninth house of publishing and travel, and she's like, "Are you publishing something? Are you going to be speaking next year?" And I was like, "Oh my god, like." This is crazy. It was all timed, like, it had to wait until there was all the preparation and everything else and getting it to that point. So yeah, stay tuned, I guess would be the message from that.
I love that, and, like, to your point too, it's like we can do the work along the way without knowing what's coming and still be aligned with, like, the timing of something outside of us. I think that's a really beautiful just to I don't know, it gives me a sense of peace and comfort and hope for everything. I don't know. It just
It does for me too, because, we were talking about there's this, about the cycles of astrology and where the world is heading, and is particularly the United States. But there's this great book called The Fourth Turning is Here, looking at historical cycles, which match with the astrological ones. And so, oftentimes, when I'm talking to people that are not as open to astrology, I'll use the history book for my grounding. And then for those that are open, I'm like, by the way, the astrology also totally matches up with everything they were talking about here. And so, again, data points. I'm not sitting here just only doing based upon what the chart, because the chart's not telling you, it's telling you a energy. It's not telling you exactly what to do, right? But it does in a world as crazy as it is right now, and people are like, I'm like, I feel optimistic. And I'm like, I tell you why. Because yes, the next couple of years are gonna be probably through early 2030s, it's gonna be tough. But we've come through it before, we'll come through it again. And I need that to get through these tougher times, because I can't live in a way that's just on edge constantly about all the different things that are incoming. I would just be paralyzed with fear and anxiety in a way that I don't want to live my life. And so to your point, it's been a really calming thing. And then even personally, yesterday before I did my solar return reading, I was so anxious and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Should I maybe be going out trying to get more clients instead of working on the book? Like, I don't know. I don't know." Like, and then I did the reading and I'm like, "Okay, I'm on the right track." Like this is like just it calm down. It's gonna be fine. So I like that I can like then go revisit every once in a while when I just need that grounding as sort of like, no, 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 this is why you're feeling this way, and this is why the energy might be happening in those types of ways that don't match what is happening for other people.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. Just like the distinction between the larger stage and the global stage of, like, the big transits that are happening, and also, like, how we can find comfort in that, and also finding comfort in our own personal little bubble. Like, I kinda think of them as 2 little bubbles. It's like,
Yeah,
"Okay, this is me," and then there's, like, everything else that's happening. And to your point too, it's like, it's not prediction, it's the data points, and also, like, we're in a different world today than we were, like, the last time these transits have happened, and, like, people are different, like, our society is different, like,
mhm,
things are different too, so we're going to show up in a different way even though the energy might be similar, and I think that's just even more important for people to, like, learn more about themselves as individuals so we can kind of help shape the future as well. Like, it's not that it's set in stone, like, "Okay, this is what's gonna happen." It's like, "Okay, if I'm living my aligned life, then I can contribute to the way that the world is
yeah,
going to unfold in the future."
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Katie. It was really fun. I love this conversation.
Yes, it's fantastic. Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining everyone. And we'll see you. I'm going to send out this replay and put some links in there too, just to Katie's work if you guys are looking for her. And then, yeah, let us know in the comments if there's anything that comes up. Awesome. Okay. Bye.